I might have been dead or gone to jail for a really long time, because at the time, like I was involved in towards the end of like my selling drug career, I was getting involved in like big sales, and it was getting like I could feel like it was getting dangerous, because I was out of my comfort zone as far as that goes, and I was dealing with people, that were like, when you get into like the level of kilos and things like that, like obviously there's more money involved, more risk, not just like police wise, but like getting robbed, you know. So I felt all that happening, and I actually remember thinking like, yo, I better stop doing this. But then I ended up getting arrested, and when I got out, I just got out of that whole lifestyle, and it's like, also changing. I met this girl that was a blessing in disguise, because she took my focus away from like doing a lot of things, and I spent a lot of time with her, and she lived in a different neighborhood, and it's like, really redirected my life, and it was difficult for me, because I was used to doing whatever the fuck I wanted, to now having some level of control. I mean, look, I still could have done whatever I wanted, obviously, but it would come with a price if I get, jammed up. So, I ended up like, I started like, you know, doing what my lawyer said. He's like, listen, you're out on bail. This is going to be like at least 2 years of court, So do what's going to look good in court, go to school, do this and that. So, I ended up going to college, getting a job, doing everything I could to look good on paper. But that actually transformed into not just being good on paper, but being good for me as a person, you know? Learning is always great, right? So I ended up just transforming a lot of things, and I stopped hanging out with the people that were still doing toxic things that I could have, easily got, like, just by being with them, getting locked up, people that were always involved in violence and loved it, and I had to remove myself from that. So it changed my life in a good way, on that level. So as far as Rob goes,
Yeah, I actually, I think like be doing. Not that I wanted to go through that. It's kind of sucked because it's stress. And it's a horrible place. Be, but I think it made me better. Like maybe I got more like some good things out of it. You become like more of a more educated, more you're more like advanced than the average person. You're not so like in a bubble. You know what I'm saying? You can know what could happen, how bad things could be, and the things you've seen, witnessed, the way you just become a little bit higher, like educated, whatever it is. You're just so that's like I took that as a good lesson. Not that if you had to go through it, better to do it when you're young, and not just like our friend Sen. Unfortunately, he's a professional inmate. He just can't always in prison. Now he's back. He's in there now. He's like his fifth state bid. Fifth. Now he's got 5 DIN numbers in the system. It's like he spent half his life in prison. Sad, but
he's done more time in prison since I've known him than time outside of
yeah,
prison.
it's sad, and it's
Right
like.
now, I think it's 23 years
And I told him, I was like, yo, at least like I went away for
combined.
something I believe in, I care, I do, you know what I'm saying? And I don't, and it never stopped me, you know what I'm saying? They're not gonna, you know what I'm saying? But you, unfortunately, what'd you go away for? Nothing. Also, I never stopped, clearly. Why should I, you go, you got to pay the piper, pay the, I'm the one that's got to pay it. So what's the fucking, whatever. It's just that too much karma and too much fucked up shit was put on me at such a young age. I did things, what I'm saying? Like I did the, whatever I did, but nah, man, it was just too much. And I don't ever gonna believe and agree with. I mean, I agree now that I could see, yeah, it was a little much for me to do certain things, but to send me away for that to prison, it's like they give you 1 to 3 years. That's 3 years, you got to do every day, every minute in state, shit, you every minute of that. They want it either inside or out, parole or in the prison. So it's like, but other than that, like that shit didn't change me, like because obviously, like I probably got worse, I definitely got worse, because when I told my lawyer the last time, had an incident on the court. They had no other deals but 6 months, 5 years probation, or a year in jail. So I told her, I'm like, I'm not taking 6 months and 5 years probation. I'll take the year if I have to go to jail. I'm not doing that other shit. I'm not doing probation after 6 months. I'll do a year. But she's a good lawyer. Same lawyer he got. Stacy Richmond. She's the best. Like
Stacy Richmond, shout out.
Yeah, Stacy. Yeah, it's Richmond. She's good. I mean, she makes shit happen. But that's what you do, in your professional life. That's like your father, the law firm. It's like that's what you do, and you got to be the best at what you can be. And she's one of them. And luckily for us, she got into doing graffiti cases for whatever the reason, which she's done a lot. Like she's like Smith and Pink. She represented.
Cat.
Yeah, Cat, and like I think
Howard Nazem.
TAT Tats Crew and all them, like Howard Nazem. And a lot. I think even Cost had her one time. I know.
Yeah, Cost used her.
A lot of people, and
she's like a murder lawyer.
Yeah, well,
she
everything.
Has a soft spot for graffiti
represents
writers.
rappers and all that shit. So that's because her dad was in like a mafia lawyer. That's how her dad came up. So, and anyway, and back to that. The rest of what I was saying about it made me worse. And I was telling her one day when I was going to court, I met up with her, so we sat and for a few hours talking, and and basically she got like a lot of like what I told her. She kind of like got a good idea of what kind of person I am. So, and I just told her, I'm like, listen, if I gotta go to jail, I'll go to jail. What am I gonna do? I'm not scared. I could do it, but I don't want to. I won't fucking do that. It's like it's a waste of time. But I'm just gonna say, like, I'm not gonna stop when I get out. Definitely, I'm gonna be worse than ever when I get out mentally. Worse than every other, all the other times, because it doesn't do no good for you. So basically, she understood that. So, and I was just like, that's basically the gist of it, So she went and got me I went to a drug thing and got detoxed, or drug, got clean, and went to outpatient. I was clean for a little while, which was good. It was actually hella, felt good, but it was mentally hard, like I wasn't the same person. I was not like, it's just weird, like you just see off, see more, I wasn't like, so I don't know. I guess people look at me, I'm more like I make people laugh or whatever. I'm just a character, I guess. So, but I wasn't really like that, and certain people would see it that I was different, what I'm saying? Like, and people that didn't know, like I was doing whatever I was doing, like types of drugs, like my friend's mother, that I rented an apartment from, she said a few times she would see me and I was coming and going, and I'd see her and she'd tell me like, yeah, I know, because she knows they took me off. I was taking Xanax, but I wasn't abusing them. I was just prescribing them. But in detox, you can't be on them. They take you off. So, but she knew they took me off that and everything. But so she was feeling that medication must, now that I'm on it, changed me, but it was like, combination, I guess, So she could see it in my eyes, like too, when she looked at me. It was like just I wasn't there. Sometimes even my brother, he lives in Atlanta, comes to visit and see me. He was just like, yeah, you're just not. It's the same thing. You're not there. I don't see you. Like you're not the same person. I don't know. Maybe you should get back on that medicine. But it was like it was just fucked up. So, but anyway, other than that, like I was just not gonna, do well when you come out of shit. So that's the only shit that changed me. Like I said, I had like a lot of real paranoia issues about. And then one of my ex-girlfriends one day let me know, and she was like, Rob, you know why you're so fucking paranoid? I'm like, I stopped. I was like, yo, I got to hear this. When she told me, it was like, yo, fucking genius. She goes, because you're always doing something wrong. And I was just like, wow. Even though I know that, but when it puts you that way, I'm like, yeah, you're right, man. That's fucking was so genius. I just like, but it was just weird, like, but that really hit me, and I was like, yo, you're so right.